Hi, my name is Aaron J. Marks. You can find out more about me at aaronjmarks.com. I'm a visionary purpose coach and a metaphysical leadership mentor. To my knowledge, I'm the only one in human history who's claimed either of those titles, and those that know me well tell me they couldn't imagine better ones for me. For as long as I can remember, I felt like my mind has worked just a little differently than most people's. At times it's been uncomfortable, but I've begun to see that it's actually incredibly important and that there's never been a better time to share the way that I think and see with the creative and entrepreneurial leaders out there who need to hear it. This is my podcast, A Higher Level. Everything we think, see, and do here happens on a higher level, and that makes all the difference. For some of you, these are among the most important and transformational conversations you will ever hear, and they will fill in something you may not have even known was missing, but something that is essential for your happiness and transformation. This podcast is all about creating a space for these conversations, a place to explore your deepest and most persistent questions about the human condition, a place to dream, play, and muse about the meaning of it all, a place people tell me only I can help them access, and a place of crucial importance for the human spirit and our future as the human race. On a higher level, everything is vast, rich, beautiful, and deeply optimistic. Join me there now, on a higher level. Hey, this is Aaron Marks of aaronjmarks.com. I'm a visionary purpose coach and metaphysical leadership mentor. Hope you're doing well today, and welcome to another episode of A Higher Level. I got a cup of green tea, and I've been thinking for days about how to approach this topic that is so crucial to me, so crucial to my experience of my life, and just all the things I think about. And I'm finding, having a place, even a place of pride in more and more conversations, that I'm having with friends and clients and leaders. And it's the concept of absurdity. Now, I haven't looked that up exactly, but I think we all have a sense of what that means. When we watch, for example, Monty Python or other surreal comedy, we get the sense that they're sort of poking at something about the human experience that that we all share. And so it's like they find those things, they sort of turn them up, they amplify them, and it's like those things aren't real that they show, but there's just something about those little kind of pockets of life that they find that we all see, and we all sort of pretend have a or are just par for the course, but it's like, yeah, there's something that just doesn't add up about all this, and that's what those comedians do. It's like they turn the volume up on that stuff, and just really get us to laugh at the cosmic joke. So I have thought about this. So like there's two different framings that I often kind of use to really poke at our intuition about the absurdity of human existence. One other thing: if animals experience a sense of absurdity, they don't show it, and there's no way they'd communicate that with us or each other. So I speculate this is a human thing, that it comes from the human frame, of us having a lot of sharing a lot of things with animals, but having a much greater degree, or a degree in general, of self-awareness, and even awareness of that self-awareness, so that I think it is a distinctly human thing. Like I don't think there's anything else in the realm of existence that we know of that experiences this absurdity. So here's my framing. All right, so I'm gonna take a highly simplistic dilemma of theism versus naturalism. All right, so if you take the theistic frame, and and I'm not going to talk about which of these I ultimately come down on. I mean, I do sort of have an answer for this personally. You can glean it from other content that I put out, but and conversations that I have, if you're one of my clients, or if you end up in a rather philosophical conversation with me, I may sort of tip my hand as to where I come down on this. But I think part of what allows me to do what I do, and have the conversations with people that I do that seem to be helpful for them, is that I can think through all sorts of different worldviews without judgment. So I'm going to talk through the absurdity of the theistic frame, and I'm going to talk through the absurdity of the naturalistic frame. And I don't know that you can do a whole lot better to kind of get straight to the heart of this absurdity that we feel, because I feel like most of us are probably having this debate, at some level, in an ongoing way, and just thinking, oh, that's funny, or it's like, that's weird, or it's like, that's absurd, and we're all in this together. We all know that we can suffer. And so, a good deal of our life is trying to figure out, how do we avoid as much suffering for ourselves as possible? How do we avoid suffering for especially the people that we love, the people that we take care of, as much as possible? We know we ultimately can't do that. We know that existence has a lot of suffering in it, and that's absurd, right? And we have kids anyway. We bring them into this system because, it's almost like the love is worth it. And that almost makes me tear up to say that, but it's true, right? We know, like, we bring children into the world, and we know that it's not always going to be easy for them, and they're going to suffer and struggle, and we do it anyway because of love, right? And it's just like, there's such absurdity there. So let me get into the theistic and the naturalistic framings, and I'll tell you the absurdity that I find in each. And if you want to debate about this, I'm happy to do it. I don't know that you're going to move me from, either of these. I know a lot of theists, and they find great strength and comfort in this. This idea that the nature of the world is intended, and intended by a being that's omnipotent and omnipresent and omniscient, right? And so it must be this way. It can't be otherwise. But that it raises so many questions, right? So here's the theistic framing. Okay, so essentially, there's a being that knows everything, that is capable of anything, that presumably has like perfect intentions, and this being has chosen, and like, whether God can choose something, like, that's a that brings up a whole other set of questions. And um Socrates and Plato knew this, thousands of years ago. They call it the Euthyphro dilemma. It's sort of packed into this dialogue that Plato wrote based on what he heard Socrates say, called Euthyphro. And there's a central dilemma that you come to about God's goodness, or about God's holiness, which is, is it something that dwells in God, or is it something that God works within, an external framework that God works within? And so when you talk about God choosing something, it implies that external framework, right? It implies that God sees different possibilities for God's actions. And, if God is like self-contained goodness, like, to me, that's incoherent, anyway. So, this all-powerful, all benevolent being created all that is, and we experience this existence, and everything that we encounter, everything that we know, everything that we see, everything we can imagine, is part of this intended, perfectly good creation. And so every time you suffer, every time you struggle, it's part of that. It must be intended, right? And so, to me, it's irreconcilable. Okay, so that's the absurdity of the theistic frame. Okay, now again, I'm not telling you which of these I ultimately come down on, which one I actually find more absurd, because I do have an answer about that. But it's like the theistic framing. It's like, it's very absurd how much we struggle, how much we suffer, how much pain there is. And just, if you think about the history of the human race, just what that's all entailed and encompassed, it's like, it boggles the mind, right? Just think about the last century, all the suffering that's been part of humankind. And the really absurd thing is that the stories about suffering are so beautiful, right? Like, that's just it. It's beyond comprehension almost. All right. So anyway, that's my kind of tidy, sort of rambling summation of the absurdity of the theistic view. Okay. So here's the absurdity of the naturalistic view. Ready? So 14 billion years ago, we're told, And every time I kind of learn about cosmology, or I hear like a theoretical physicist explain this, it's like I always realize how much I've forgotten, like how much people know about the nature of the universe, and like just how space-time works, and gives these very, very precise scientific answers about about all that exists, right? So about 14 billion years ago, we're told something was set into motion. It's expressed in a highly impersonal way, just like there are these forces of physics that have always existed and sort of inevitably put something into motion, and and that's why my first like metaphysical realm is motion, but that's beside the point. I'll get into that in later episodes. So billions of years ago, something was set into motion that turned into gases and stars and rocks, and the gravity bound matter together, created heavenly bodies, as astrological, astronomical, I don't know, like stars, planets, galaxies, right? Things are gravity created orbits, right? And then inextricably, like right on the tail end of this, like very, very close to midnight on that, on that universal scale of time, we get the planet Earth, which is, as so far as we can tell, a miracle, and there's no concept of a miracle in the naturalistic frame. But when we look at the planet Earth, like I don't know how you escape that kind of evaluation. It's just this remarkably unlikely and perfect incubator for life, and so we get life, we get liquid water, which and then life, so, somehow happens, right? I think people still don't know how that happens, but it's fascinating. It's mind-boggling. Like things became alive, things went from the realm of motion to the realm of life. How did that happen? I don't know. And then there was this long process of evolution. It was, unguided. It was natural selection doing what it does. Exerting selection pressure and sexual selection on increasingly sophisticated and nuanced and complicated forms of life that eventually created humans, and are very, very odd faculties for reasoning and observing and thinking about things that that other beings simply don't seem to have. And so here we are. We're humans. We have strategies, but we can change them. We have moral, ethical reasoning. So we can choose to change the way that we run societies and enact moral codes, and create more and more harmony over the course of human existence. And I know that's a controversial and debatable thing to say, but I do think it's the best time to be alive. It's the most prosperous time. It's the most stable time. Even when we feel that threatened every now and then, we don't live like we did thousands of years ago in these, walled cities, like afraid of the elements constantly, and worried that bandits are going to loot us at night, and with all these superstitions, and some would say, we still have plenty of superstitions, but it's just not like we did thousands of years ago. Yeah. So we're in this time, and then suddenly we're looking at the impact that we have, the level to which the population has grown, and things like climate change and an ecological impact. And we're starting to ask questions like, well, what is the point of humankind? Like, how big ought we to get? Like, what is our ideal impact on the planet Earth and in the universe? And here's the absurd thing to me, though. It's like, if this is all purely naturalistic, not based on any sort of higher plan or intelligence or benevolent creator being, we have this sense that some things are better than others. And I don't know how you'd get that. But even people who are naturalists, they have incredibly strong feelings about things and the morality that that guides them. And to me, that's absurd. It's like I don't understand why that would be. So it's absurd to me that passions, and moral convictions were developed in this completely naturalistic and impersonally guided developmental process that has created the human race that we know, and the current universe that we know. So to me, you cannot avoid a sense of absurdity, whatever your worldview is. Okay. And and if you talk to me, I will find it. I will find the absurdity in your worldview. And not only that, I'll delight in it. Okay. And what I really notice is that the people who like talking to me and the clients who enjoy being coached by me, they delight in this absurdity as well. There's this sense that, oh yeah, something doesn't add up here, no matter how you look at it, no matter what worldview you take, no matter what philosophy, there's something just very strange about all this. And all you can do is laugh about it, and that's the cosmic joke, and so we're all here, not out of our own choice. Like, this is something I was writing about this morning. Not one person you will ever meet chose to be born. Now, many of us, even most of us, have made choices about who else was born, right? But that is one thing that we all have in common, is that everyone you ever meet, everyone you're related to, all of your friends, all of your customers, all of your colleagues, not one of them made the choice to be born. And we're all here in this together, in this absurd system that is paradoxically so full of suffering, but so full of love and joy. And so I think the funniest thing about absurdity to me is that it really becomes a place of deep optimism and vision for me. I don't know why. Like, this is, perhaps I'll figure out why this is in time. But I think for me, it's like you center yourself, you think through the things that don't add up about existence, about the universe, about the human race, about our consciousness, and then boom, we're in this present moment. As I record this, it's 2022. It's September 21st, 2022, 2:19 in the afternoon in Central Time. Here I am, in the middle of Wisconsin. This moment has never been before. It'll never be again. And, really, this moment's all I have. And I think about all the human race has been through. And I think about the long chain of human events and interactions that has brought me to this moment. And not just me, but you listening to this, wherever you are, and, the marvelous technological infrastructure that people have created over the last a number of decades. Well, actually more than that, because it keeps building on itself. And here you are listening to me, in your earbuds or your car stereo. I can't even. It's like it boggles my mind. I don't know what to say about it. It's so absurdly wonderful that this moment exists and that I'm having this experience, and that I hope you are too with me, that that I'm shifting your consciousness and just showing you the present moment in a way that you're not used to seeing. Like, that's what I find happens when I have these conversations with people. And so we're having a mystical moment here. You see this? It's a mystical moment. And there is no way to be pessimistic after having a mystical moment. Okay. And it's the absurdity that brings me to that. And, and I think creates the transformations, that I bring people to. Okay. It all starts with this absurdity. Not everyone realizes that, but like, that is what I bring. When I show up, I'm constantly working, and I call it the realm of purpose. And we'll talk about that more when I go through the metaphysics, but it's like the absurdity brings me right to the heart of the realm of purpose. And, it's like, it's there that we can, once we've really gazed upon that absurdity with open eyes, then we can say, okay, So what do I want to do now? And that's your purpose. And then from there, it's a pretty simple matter of figuring out what to do. All right. I don't know that I can say much more about it than that, but I'm glad. I wasn't sure how that was going to unfold, but that couldn't have unfolded any other way. And it was, that it did get me to where I had hoped it would go. So absurdity. What do you think? Do you experience that too? Is this a deeper level than you've been conscious of? Prior. Anyway, I'd love to hear what that did for you. And truly, like that is, it's a starting point. It's a starting point of deep optimism. Because again, and maybe I hadn't completed this thought. If you really have a mystical experience, there's no possible pessimism, from mysticism. That's what any mystic will tell you. Mystics are always deeply optimistic and full of love. And that's why I talk about optimism as much as I do, because it's like if absurdity brings you to a mystical experience, then absurdity must be related to optimism. And here's what I think it's important now, as I'm recording this, in this world where I can talk into a microphone in front of a metal box filled with electronic circuitry, and click a few buttons on my mouse, and suddenly it's in your ear pods, and you could be halfway across the world, and I imagine some of you are. It's like, yeah, we live in this absurd world, but it's so full of possibility. And really, that's what us humans are here to do, is to live in that possibility. And that's why it's a waste of your life to get mired in the frustration. Okay. So, so I think this is something you need to explore. It's, we humans, whether this is, whether it was theistically directed or whether it was, completely naturalistic process, I don't know. No one knows. Again, I have my suspicions, but we're here now, and we've inherited something magnificent, I guess. Magnificent implies a value judgment, right? And value judgments make sense in the theistic frame, but not in the naturalistic ones. But people make them anyway, even in the naturalistic frame. But here we are in 2022 with all we've inherited. Life is pregnant with possibility. Don't ever forget that. We really get to ask where we want to go, and that's our modern blessing and our modern dilemma, because it's actually a burden to be free. If you have your path set out for you, you'll be frustrated by it. You will rage against it, but ultimately there's an odd sort of comfort in that bondage. And today in 2022, we are so free that we're terrified of having to make the decisions, with that freedom. So that's absurd. But again, don't forget, absurdity leads you to a deeply optimistic place. And it's from that optimistic place that you truly realize where you want to go. And that's the realm of purpose. And that leads to your purpose. And then from there, the strategy is infinitely malleable, and the strategy will create actions. So that's my message to you about absurdity. I'm really interested to know how that landed with you, and what that helps you see differently. Because I think it is the center of my message. It is absurdity. So I don't know about you, but I'm feeling peaceful and optimistic and inspired right now. And I'm really glad I shared that message with you. So, and my name is Aaron Marks, and you can find out more about me at Aaron J. Marks. And yeah, I look forward to hearing from you. Thanks so much for listening to A Higher Level. I hope that got you seeing, thinking, and acting just a little differently, or maybe even a lot. When you act differently, you get different results. But we need to start with the vision and the thinking. How do you feel? Ready to go and make positive, inspiring changes in your life and work? If so, it means what we're doing here is working, and I would love for you to let me know if this is you. There's a bunch of ways for you to get in touch with me. You can go to my website, aaronjmarks.com, or look for Aaron J. Marks, Visionary Purpose Coach and Metaphysical Leadership Mentor on Facebook, or you can look for Aaron J. Marks on LinkedIn or Instagram, whatever is easiest for you. And if this is speaking to you, I might suggest that you think about becoming one of my leadership coaching clients. In our work together, we'll have conversations on this level, but tailored just to your life and aspirations. You really can't imagine what a difference this can make for your mindset, vision, and results. The first step after learning more about my approach is to book a free no-obligation discovery call, both of which you can do at aaronjmarks.com. If your intuition is nudging you, don't wait any longer. It is likely the next step along the marvelous journey of wherever you are here to go and whatever it is you are here to do. And I can't wait to meet you. Thanks again for listening, everyone. I'll see you on the next episode when we'll continue to see, think, and act on a higher level. I'll see you then. A Higher Level is the official podcast of Aaron J. Marks, Visionary Purpose Coach and Metaphysical Leadership Mentor. Learn more at www.aaronjmarks.com. A Higher Level is written, recorded, edited, and produced by Aaron J. Marks. Music is by Arie. I'll see you next time on A Higher Level.